Welcome everybody. My name is Jake Davis. I want to welcome y'all to the Scribe webinar of From Prep to Impeachment: How Litigators Use AI to Prep Smarter, Depose Better, and Review Faster. We're going to take questions at the end. So if you want to hold them till then, or you can put them into the chat there at the bottom, and we'll address them. And so presenting today, we've got Carl Silbach, who is not only one of the founders of Scribe, but also founder of the Austin, Texas firm Doyle and Silbach. So without further ado, let me go ahead and turn it over to Carl.
All right, Jake. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. I'm excited to do it. And so I'm going to share my screen and we will just dive in. One thing that I will add to what Jake just said, first of all, Jake and Aaron, can you see my screen okay? Can I get a thumbs up or some indicator?
Yep.
Sharing properly?
See it well.
Okay, great. Don't hold questions until the end. Please drop them in the chat, and then Jake or Aaron will monitor that, and they'll alert me if we have a question. And I'll try to take them in real time as much as possible. I think that does help quite a bit. So I'm excited to present to you today on a topic that I am super passionate about. What I hope you will get from today are some concrete AI workflows that you can actually use to get ready to take a deposition, to prep a witness, to do a better job in the deposition room itself, and then automate and speed up some of the tasks after the deposition. So really quickly, just a little bit about me. I'll give you a life story in 30 seconds, hopefully. I was born in Houston, Texas, quickly moved over to Norway for a few years before coming back to Northeast Texas. Henderson, Texas is where I grew up. Went to West Rusk School District and then Stephen F. Austin for undergrad, where I met my lovely wife, Adrian. Went to South Texas for law school, really enjoyed it there, was an advocate there before joining Winstead. That's where I kind of cut my teeth and learned how to be a litigator. Made partner there after moving to Austin, where we raised our two little kiddos, Annabelle and Millie. Started my own firm in 2015 after leaving Winstead, which has grown to about 37, a team of about 37 people, almost 20 attorneys. Founded Scribe just a few years ago with a really good friend of mine, Tom Irby. You know, if I'm not working on Scribe, if I'm not working on the law firm, I'm probably at a volleyball match. I feel like all of my time and extra money go into volleyball because I have two volleyball players who are both involved in club. A lot of fun. For those of you who have kids and have kids in club sports, you know what I'm talking about. So a few disclaimers. I am not your attorney. This presentation is not legal advice, and hopefully this will be entertaining enough that you won't fall asleep. If there are any typos, I'm going to blame AI for that. Don't spend any time billing for this. Hopefully you won't, but if you do, you know, that's up to you. And if you cite this presentation in a brief about how to use AI, I will deny it or I will bill you for it. You get to pick. So any good litigator knows you have to give your audience a roadmap. So here it is. We're going to talk about ethics and rules around AI. We're going to go over a little bit of how it works, like what is generative AI. Just another disclaimer, I'm not a software engineer, I'm not a developer. I'll talk about it high level and give you some kind of food for thought yourself. Then we will dive into the nuts and bolts of depositions, deposition prep, how to leverage AI in the deposition room itself, and how to speed up post-deposition workflow. I will also give you some other sample use cases before we turn to depositions, other ways that I've used AI in other types of discovery work, even timekeeping. There's a lot of different ways you can leverage AI in your practice, and I'll share a few of those along the way as well. Here's what we're trying to avoid. I don't want you to end up on the front page of a paper. And I just pulled these a couple of weeks ago. I had some old ones from a couple of years ago on there, but it's still happening. In other words, since ChatGPT came out almost 3 years ago, we're still seeing attorneys filing things with courts that have made up cases or made up facts. So one of my goals for you today, maybe if you only take away one thing, is hopefully you'll learn enough that this won't happen to you and you won't end up on the front page of the paper for all the wrong reasons, getting sanctioned for something you filed with a court. This is an example. This is a brief that an attorney filed with case citations. They all looked good. They looked real, but it turned out ChatGPT or something like it had hallucinated all of these cases, and the lawyer filed it anyway and ultimately was sanctioned. So the ethics piece of this, there's really three core concepts that we're trying to cover today as it relates to ethics. The first is competence. So we all as attorneys have to educate ourselves on the use of AI. You're attending this webinar today, so that's a big step in the right direction. Communication. ABA Rule 1.4, Texas, which is where I practice, 1.03. This means you must communicate with your clients about the means that you are using to accomplish their goals, including the use of technology and including the use of generative AI. In fact, there's been some declarations or kind of resolutions by the ABA around that concept. I've got a sample clause I'll show you in just a minute, but I highly recommend that if you're using AI, that you convey that to your clients. You can do that maybe in your engagement letter, or if you're a defense attorney and raising rates periodically, you could include it in your rate raise letter, which I'm sure the client loves to get. And then confidentiality. We have a duty to protect the confidentiality of our clients' materials, and that is important when it relates to any type of technology, whether that's practice management software or generative AI tools. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. If you would like a sample AI disclosure clause, I have studied the ABA's guidelines and the Texas guidelines, and I have written one that I think accomplishes, at least as of the date of this webinar, 2025, what we should be conveying to clients. So if you'd like a copy of that, shoot me an email. Email's at the bottom there, carl@scribe.ai. And I am happy to share it with you. Keep in mind and be sure to train your team. You should be checking what the court's requirements are, if any, for generative AI. There was a bit of a, what I would call a knee-jerk reaction, maybe an overreaction amongst the bench and the bar in light of some of these filings that had hallucinated cases and in some cases hallucinated facts. And so some judges have been issuing standing orders or judge-specific rules on disclosing generative AI. This one's actually a pretty good one. It's a federal judge in Northern District of Texas. What I like about it, first of all, I don't think they're necessary personally. We already have a duty of candor. We have a duty to make sure that what we file with the court is accurate. But to the extent judges are going to be issuing them, this one at least doesn't prevent you from using generative AI tools. It just says that if you do, you need to check what you're going to file for accuracy before you file it with the court. So that's probably striking the right balance. The Fifth Circuit, actually, I think hit the nail on the head. That there was a rule that had been proposed at the Fifth Circuit level, federal Fifth Circuit, and after some pros and cons and attorneys, raising concerns and issues, the court ultimately decided they were not going to issue a new rule and said, I used AI is not going to be an excuse for what would otherwise be a sanctionable offense. And so again, kind of relying back on that concept that we already have a duty to make sure that what we file with the court is accurate. So we're going to get to depositions, I promise, really soon. This is just kind of getting us ready for covering all the different ways to work with our depositions. How generative AI works. And so generative AI, think of it almost like a word calculator. It's predicting what the next word should be in the sentence. That's probably the best layman explanation I can think of. And it's doing that based off of, literally billions and billions of words and articles and things on the internet that it's been trained on. So it's extremely powerful. I'm sure if anyone actually does AI engineering, they're probably laughing at my explanation. But just to give you an example, the slide that's on the screen, that was designed by AI. I just asked the AI tool to generate a slide that I could share in a presentation to legal professionals about how generative AI works. And it came up with this slide, designed it, all the words on the screen, everything on the screen is straight out of generative AI. So it shows you kind of how powerful the tool can be, even for putting together presentations. Client privacy. So we talked about confidentiality of your client information, your firm's information. You should do your own due diligence on any tool that you use, whether it's your practice management system, your email systems, all the different systems we use to do our work, to transmit information internally, externally. You should always be looking at what are the security protocols. This is an example of some of the common Anthropic Claude, ChatGPT by OpenAI, Grok by xAI. They have various levels of privacy controls baked into them. You want to make sure you're paying for the product. So I would avoid any free tools on the market. And Claude and ChatGPT in particular do a good job with their Teams plans or their enterprise plans. of really having strict privacy controls in place. But you should do your own research. The two things that I always look for when I'm trying to decide whether to test a tool, I consider them kind of the top priorities are that they're not training on the data being submitted. In other words, they're not going to be feeding their large language model with the information that you are submitting into it, where there's a risk that it could somehow leak out in answers to other customers that are using the tool. So no training on your data. And then that the storage is secure, that they have secure access controls and secure storage methods in place. So generative AI use cases, we'll touch on a few and then we'll dive right into depositions. Legal research. So I promised you I would try to keep you off the front page of the paper. And so we're going to talk about a few different tools by two of the big boys, so to speak, in legal software, Thomson Reuters, and we'll get to Lexis in just a minute. Thomson Reuters tool is called CoCounsel. So they acquired Case Text, which many of you may have used or heard of about, I think, a year and a half ago now for $600 million. And they have sunsetted Case Text as a company and incorporated it into Thomson Reuters and the Westlaw platform as CoCounsel. And so it has a lot of different capabilities. It can summarize an amazing quantity of documents. One of the things I really like about the way that CoCounsel approaches AI is that if you put something into it, so the slide on the screen, you'll see these little footnotes. So I don't know if you can see them, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. What CoCounsel does a really nice job of is always linking you to the source. So it'll summarize something using generative AI, but it will link you back to the source document. So like even if you wanted to create a timeline, let's say you wanted to put in a bunch of records related to a case and have it generate a timeline for you. It's going to give you the timeline, but it's also in a description that goes date and then description, but it's also going to link back to the source document. So one of the things I would encourage you to do when you're thinking about using generative AI in your practice is always look for where's the source of truth? What's going to make me comfortable that this didn't hallucinate? And I think CoCounsel has done a good job of always linking back to the source materials. And then keeping you off the front page of the paper, at least for all the wrong reasons. If you were going to use your generative AI tools for legal research, and I think you should use an AI tool that is tied into a legal research database. So what I mean by that, I mean a tool like Lexis AI, a tool like a Westlaw Precision or CoCounsel. Again, they update their branding so much, it's hard to remember what it's called. There's another company that's an up-and-comer called MidPage. I'm not going to show any slides on it, but MID Page. Looks a little similar to Case Text when they first got started. So I'm checking that one out as well. But ultimately, what you're looking for is you want a tool that you can do some case law research, maybe get a head start or get some drafted response material on a key issue in a case. You want to make sure, though, that the cases that are coming back are real. And so the way that you can protect against that is use one of these tools. They are more expensive than a ChatGPT or a Claude, but it's well worth the difference in price when you get, and here's an example on the screen in the yellow box, the real cases. Okay, you're going to get links to them so that you can go read them, and you're going to get either a Shepard's or a citation history, depending on which tool you're using, to show you is it still good law or not. So that's super important. So these are just a couple of tools that I've tested. My firm's actually piloting right now because we used to be Case Text subscribers. So we are testing Lexis AI, we're testing MidPage, and we're going to test CoCounsel and pick one of those three most likely. Stay tuned. So what else can some of these tools help you with? What about the less expensive ones like ChatGPT or Claude? They're only about $25 a month per user, and those are on plans that have some really good privacy protections, no training on your data. I'm going to show you some examples. So the first one that we're going to go through is drafting some discovery in a hypothetical work injury case that's based on a real case. And I'll show you, you can upload to it some of the key information. So here in this example, upload the petition, upload some of the incident reports, and we're going to have it and kind of prompt it to say, hey, here's the basic things I want you to do. Here's the categories of the type of discovery I want you to try to generate for me. And it is going to analyze the context of everything that I uploaded and generate very specific discovery requests that are tailored to the case. And so what I like about that, and what I think, that fellow litigators may want to, one reason you may want to embrace this is it helps you avoid the situation where you're sending boilerplate discovery in all of your cases that are similar cases. This is a way to generate a very tailored, thoughtful, and thorough set of discovery that actually tracks the allegations in the case and the facts alleged in the petition and the claims alleged in the petition. Of course, this is just a first draft, right? You shouldn't just hit download and print it or convert it to a PDF and serve it. You should read it or have your paralegal read it and have one of your attorneys read it. But this can be a great way to get an initial draft of discovery completed. So depositions, this is the heart of the presentation today, but I did want to give you some primers on some of those other things because I know people are interested. So preparing for depositions with AI. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of different aspects to this. And so the first one I'm going to do, and Aaron or Jake, if you will give me a thumbs up when I start playing this, that you can hear it. If you'll turn your video on so I can see you. I want to make sure y'all can hear this. So let me kind of set this up real quick and explain what you're about to hear. I had a deposition, actually it was like 7 or 8 depositions in Odessa, Texas, and I was going to need to drive there, which is about a 6-hour drive from Austin. And I needed to get ready for these depositions, but I'd been pretty busy. And so I was trying to think, is there a tool that I could use to kind of take advantage of some of this dashboard time behind the wheel that would help me get ready for the depositions? And ultimately what I tried, and I was really impressed with it, was a tool from Google called Notebook LM. Notebook, I think the LM probably stands for language model. And so what you're about to listen to is just a snippet, but it is AI generated. The people that you're about to listen to aren't real people. But what was helpful for me is they talked about the ins and outs of my case, the different witnesses, their roles, what they had said or alleged, interesting questions about the different stories of how this incident happened and what the cause might have been, and really made it genuinely interesting to listen to, so that when I finally got to the hotel, I was primed to finish my prep. And so I'm going to play it for you. Let me hit the play button, and Jake will give me a thumbs up if he can hear it.
All right, so we're diving into this personal injury case against Family Dollar today. Yeah. You sent a ton of material over: witness interviews, expert reports, legal filings. It's a lot. A real legal drama unfolding.
Yeah, a lot of moving pieces for sure.
Our mission with this deep dive is to really break it all down, analyze those witness accounts, understand everybody's role and any potential biases, and then ultimately try to uncover the strengths and weaknesses of Family Dollar's case.
Yeah, what's really striking is the number of people involved and then all the conflicting accounts of what actually went down. It's a real challenge to try to piece together the truth.
That's what we're here for.
But that's what we do.
Exactly. To set the stage.
So I cut it off there because it starts to get into the details of the case itself. But as you can hear, it really is kind of mind-blowing. I mean, it sounds like a podcast episode. They can do a deep dive on any topic you want. One of the really use cases that I haven't tested this for yet, but I think it could be really helpful, is getting ready for trial. How you're going to talk to the either in voir dire, to the panel of potential jury members, or to the jury themselves. This would be a very interesting way to get to leverage AI and to listen to these podcast hosts banter back and forth about the key issues in your case, maybe how a jury member might think about it, could maybe even help you develop themes of the case. So I was pretty fascinated by it. I haven't had a chance to use it again, but I want to. It also
so we're diving into this.
It also has some other features. And so let me explain a few of these. These are really interesting. You can create a study guide. You can create a FAQ, all kind of briefing documents using Notebook LM. Keep in mind, it's not legal purposed, so it's not designed, for attorneys necessarily, but that doesn't mean you can't get value out of it. And so you really can do all types of very interesting things in getting ready for depositions, creating study guides for yourself using this tool. You can even mind map. For those of you who like that concept, I thought this was pretty interesting, and I've redacted out the names of the people involved here. But this was interesting. It kind of broke this out into, I could dive deeper on each of these categories: the incident, the equipment details that were involved, the damages in the case. And if you click one, it then goes to the next level, right, for that particular category. It was really interesting way to look at the case kind of from a snapshot view. And I didn't have to do anything. It just did this based off the material that I had submitted. So really easy lifting, so to speak. All right, so I thought fascinating when I used it. Here's another tool that I've used I like it. The only thing that I sometimes run into with Claude is by a company called Anthropic. Some of you who have tinkered with other tools other than ChatGPT have probably heard of Claude. Claude is, I would say, becoming popular in the legal industry, partly because I think they have such a focus on privacy as something they take very seriously, at least, according to all their advertising. And so here are some ways that I've used Claude, and I was pretty impressed with the results. The only issue that I run into is the ChatGPT version, the Teams version that I pay for, seems to allow me to upload more information to it. Sometimes with Claude, I'll run into token limits, right? So all these large language models operate on tokens. You can only submit so many things like data, think almost like characters in a Word document. Similar concept. So there's a limit on how much you can feed it. And some of the AI tools like GPT, for example, have a higher limit. But let's dive in. So outlining, I know there are some attorneys out there who may have been doing this for 30 years and you don't use an outline and you can take a deposition just off the top of your head. Well, good for you. We train our team, and I myself always do a thorough outline and try to be the most prepared person in the room. And so I started thinking, what if I could use a tool like Claude to help me get ready to take an expert deposition and really dive into the expert's report, some of the common industry standards, my expert's rebuttal report, and really compare and contrast the two and help me question the opposing expert in a way that was maybe better than I otherwise would have, or at least help with writer's block and help me get started in preparing for the deposition. So this is an example of that. I have changed the names here to protect the innocent, but we have a work injury case where we retained involves a safety expert with some opinions related to OSHA and workplace safety issues. And ultimately, I wanted the AI to analyze the reports and the supporting documents and then draft me an outline that would help me undermine the credibility of the other expert, expose any flaws in his methodologies, compare some of his opinions to OSHA standards or principles that maybe he misinterpreted or is exaggerating, and then leverage as much as possible my own experts' opinions and reasoning to help support some of my lines of questioning. So let me show you kind of how this ultimately played out. So let me kick this off. Here we go. So I've kind of already explained the prompt. Again, a lot of these prompts are in my prompt guide, which I'm happy to share with you. I'll show you my email again in a little bit, or you can drop a request in the chat if you'd like a copy of the prompting guide. It goes through a lot of sample prompts you can use to get ready for depositions. Keep in mind, no prompt is perfect. You will want to personalize your prompt. But with this prompt, this is an example of a first draft. Always treat this stuff as a first draft of a deposition outline that I was able to take and then use to get ready for the expert's deposition, opposing expert's deposition. So it did a really good job of, finding flaws and gaps in some of the reasoning of the opposing expert. And again, it's not an attorney. It's not going to do a perfect job, but it may help you frame questions or spot issues that you would have otherwise missed. So really, really interesting tool for that. I would highly recommend it, particularly for expert depositions. I think that really can help you and your team get ready to take expert depositions in a way that you almost feels like cheating a little bit when you're able to whip up such a good outline so fast. And then witness prep. This is another interesting use case here. So, it is very good for outlining, but you can also use tools like Claude to help you prepare a witness. So let's say you need to prepare a corporate rep on the defense side, or maybe an injured plaintiff and you're the plaintiff's attorney on the case. Yes, you probably have your own method that you use to prep. You probably have kind of your 101 checklist of things you want to explain to the witness, especially if there's someone who hasn't been deposed before. But one of the things that can take a little bit of time is figuring out what questions should they be anticipating? What are some themes we want to make sure that this witness, comes back to when they're under fire, some core truths that they can always know to come back to. And so I think AI is really fascinating here because it helps take what can sometimes be an issue of the attorney. As attorneys, we do this day in, day out. But a lot of times the witnesses that we're preparing don't. And so sometimes you'll forget to explain things to someone in a way that they can understand what they need to be worried about, what they don't need to be worried about, in a way that resonates with someone. So you could, it's not on the screen right now, but you could tell the AI, this is the first time this person has ever been deposed. Here is the type of job they have. Here's a little bit about their job history. Please make sure you explain this in a way that a first-time witness would feel comfortable and understand the concepts, to get ready for this deposition. So here's an example. We've kind of prompted it to help prepare this forklift driver, which was my client's employee, for a deposition. And we'll kind of show how good of a job it did for the first draft. So we'll let it run for a little bit. And here I have changed the names to some Marvel inspired names. But it gives me, this is not something you would share with your witness, at least not in most jurisdictions, because at least in Texas, that you would have to produce whatever they reviewed to prepare for their deposition. But this is a guide for me. So this is going to help me prepare the witness for the deposition. So it's going to give me kind of key points to remind them. It's going to give me sample questions that they're probably going to be asked, and really give me a guide start to finish of what do I need to talk through with this witness? How am I going to prepare them for their deposition in a way that they are ready for the hard questions, know how to handle, a combative opposing counsel, certain, pitfalls to avoid. The more you feed it, the better of a job it does. So, but, you could feed it other deposition transcripts as well, right? If a lot of other people have already been deposed in the case, that could be a helpful way to get an even better outline put together. But it really is mind blowing. I mean, this is, if you look at the quality of some of this stuff, it would have taken hours to prepare this type of outline, first draft of an outline, to prep a witness for a deposition. And so, you may read it and say, well, that's good, but it's missing X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? Just add X, Y, and Z to your next prompt. And you can literally have a back and forth with the AI and say, well, that's great, but it looks like we've missed the following topics. Could you add those into the outline? And within seconds, you'll have a revised outline. So I think of these tools as kind of your thought partners, right? They can help you think through issues, test arguments or themes. You can craft, a really great voir dire or voir dire, depending on where you're from. Opening statements, closing arguments. I mean, it is very impressive the degree to which these tools can help you brainstorm and take some of the ideas in your head and really accelerate the work product that comes out. So taking depositions with AI. And then one other thing, if you have any questions, please do drop them into the chat. And then Jake and Aaron, since I'm presenting, if a question comes in, just interrupt me and kind of let me know, and we can try to take the question in real time. So taking depositions with AI, we've talked about prep. We've talked about, you can put information into these AI tools like Claude, like ChatGPT to increase the quality of your outlines to help you prep witnesses. Again, a deep dive on this, if you want to have examples for a particular type of witness or a particular use case, just email me. It may already be covered in my guide. If not, I'm happy to collaborate with you on it. There's only so much we can cover in a 1 hour presentation. We can also use AI in the moment to actually take better depositions. And this is one of the use cases that I'm probably the most excited about, because for any of you who have teams of people where you're not the only one taking the deposition, and some of them may be junior associates or someone who maybe they're not a junior associate, maybe they've been practicing for 15, 20 years, but they've never done the type of law that you do, and they've joined your team or your firm and are going to be taking some depositions in cases that are new to them, new type of case. This is a way you can leverage AI to get not only a real-time transcript, but also use AI to chat with that transcript, spot gaps, spot inconsistencies, get recommended follow-up questions, identify areas where maybe you missed a question or something has been left unanswered. It's a really, really interesting way to approach taking a deposition and getting a better result for your client. So let me show you, this is Scribe's tool for this. Let me show you kind of how it works. And so I'm just going to play this real quick. This is going to show that as you're starting, and this is currently designed for remote depositions, but as you're starting the Zoom deposition, you're able to get in a separate browser a real-time transcript. And so when you click into the real-time transcript, you'll have the text of the deposition streaming in real time as everyone is talking on the left-hand side of the page. You can keyword search that if you need to search the transcript. You can increase the font size if you want to increase the font size. It's very kind of customizable to your liking. And then you can chat with that transcript to keep up with what's happening on a break, maybe ask, what topics have I not covered yet? What are things that I should ask next of this witness? It's a very, very powerful way to interact with the real-time transcript. How you use it is probably up to you. Some attorneys like having a second screen up, Zoom on one, Scribe on the other, with the real-time and the ability to chat with the transcript. Some prefer to just look at this on a break, right? Everyone has their own style and their own way of doing things. I tend to be one who wants to use something like this on a break and just focus on the witness during the deposition, take a break every hour or so, and then go back to my real-time transcript, search it, chat with it, see what I possibly missed. So it is a very, very powerful tool that can help you spot gaps. And then I'm going to give you some example prompts here. Some of these are tailored to a construction use case, but here's an example. This is not the interface because it would have been kind of tiny to show it that way. So this is just going to show you an example of what you could drop in on a break to the AI chat with that real-time transcript. So show me everything the witness said about what caused the water intrusion, point out any contradictions, and suggest some follow-up questions for me to ask. And so the way that it's going to work is it's going to analyze that entire transcript. So think this could be hours into a deposition. It's going to spot what the witness said earlier, and it's going to link to it. So you'll see here on these timestamps, 10:42, 11:15 are underlined. They're hyperlinked. So if you were in the interface right now, you would click it, and it would pull up the corresponding segment of the real-time transcript where the witness testified to those things. So you could go back and review and see the context. And then it's going to recommend, if it spots a contradiction, it will tell you. And then it's going to recommend some follow-up questions. So you can think, okay, well, question 2 is a great one. I don't need to ask question 3, but I like 2. So I'm going to add that when we go back on the record. I'm going to ask that question. So it's a way to get make sure you don't miss things, and also it's almost like a second set of eyes. That's kind of the way I think about it. So here's another example. Some of us will take depositions. I had one attorney tell me that was using this tool. When you're in a deposition, sometimes it can feel like you're in the fog of war, was the analogy. I don't know if that's exactly on point, but I have definitely been in depositions where, they last all day, and by early to mid-afternoon, my brain's getting mushy, and it's kind of hard to remember every single thing that I covered with a witness. This tool is a great opportunity to be almost like a perfect memory for you, so that if you're trying to remember what happened, you can just prompt the AI. And this is an example. Create a timeline from the deposition so far, explaining when the defects were first noticed, when they told person X or Y, whether a repair was allowed. And so it will, again, this is just an elementary example for purposes of the presentation, but imagine in a 5-hour deposition, this could be a very lengthy answer potentially, but it could organize it for you in a very logical fashion and make it super, super simple for you to have your timeline of everything that's been said so far, linking back to the testimony of when they said it, and then recommend follow-up questions for you if follow-up questions could help further clarify the issue. So it's a very, very powerful tool. Here's one more example where, the question was, who's responsible for the flashing and the waterproofing on this job? Organize everything this witness has said based on, who they have blamed, essentially. And so in this example, over the course of the deposition, there was some blame pointed at the general contractor, there was some blame pointed at the sub and the architect. And so some follow-up questions are recommended to try to clarify those issues. So a really interesting way, again, to use AI in real time, either as the deposition's unfolding or on a break, to help you take a better deposition. You could also, as the event is taking place, prompt it to help you really lock down an issue. So you've all been there, right? You get some good testimony. A lot of times the deposition will end, and in the old days, you don't have a transcript, you don't have anything to reference. And I have had moments where I was driving back from a deposition and thought, I got exactly what I needed. I think I can get a summary judgment in this case now, only to see later, once the transcript finally came in 3-4 weeks later, that it wasn't exactly how I remembered it, and that I kind of was wearing rose-colored glasses in the way that I was recalling exactly what the testimony was. Well, using AI, you could prompt it through the chat to help you lock in certain elements or certain issues that you really want to make sure you get answered in a way that's just concrete, to the point, and gets exactly what you need for that admission or that element related to your case. And so you could do that again in real time. You could do it on a break. And you could even tell it, hey, I need to make sure that I cover the following issues in this deposition in the following way. Have I accomplished that so far? And it would review the whole transcript and tell you if you have any gaps. So really, really interesting approach there. And then Jake and Aaron, let me know if any questions have popped up. It looks like Jake unmuted. Does that mean
we have mainly just about the prompt guide, and we have posted in the we're putting in the chat the link to our ultimate guide, so we will that will be in there. But currently that's the only question that we have.
Okay, great. Well, then that just means I just must be answering all the questions through the course of the presentation, right? That we'll just, hopefully no one's fallen asleep. All right, so ultimately all this AI stuff is really cool, and we all get inundated all the time with AI tools that we can use in our practice. A lot of them are hard to figure out. And so part of the thinking here is, what if you didn't have to prompt it at all? What if the AI just kept track of everything for you? And that was one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I've been getting in meeting with other attorneys and doing some kind of due diligence and discovery on this topic. Obviously, this is a topic that, I just am passionate.
Hey, Carl,
yeah.
We do have a question.
We do.
Yes. What tools are you using for real-time transcripts, and are attorneys objecting to the use of those?
Yeah, so the tool that my firm uses is Scribe for that. And no, we have not had any objections to the use of a real-time transcript. I mean, I think real-time transcripts have been around a long time. Now they're just a lot more affordable than they used to be. So, and less clunky. Real-time transcripts historically could be pretty clunky to get access to, and even the interface was not very desirable. Now, with court reporting solutions like Scribe's non-stenographic platform, it's included in the price. There's no extra cost at all for the real-time features that I'm demoing right now. So that's a plus as well. Some of us may have wanted real-time in the past, but we didn't want to pay double or triple for it. Here, there's no kind of pricing barrier. It's just included in the price already. So
actually, we have another one. Are mediators or arbitrators using this service? For example, an arbitrator using it so as to create a letter award at the end of a case?
That's a great question. So Scribe actually is partnering with one arbitration provider that's based in Texas. That partnership is just rolling out for that is one of the intended use cases. Is this could be a powerful tool for arbitrators to, well, for a couple things. One, and don't want to get too deep into this right now, but Scribe's platform provides everyone with not only real-time transcripts, but also you walk away from the event with a transcript synced to the video. So you don't have to wait days or perhaps weeks to get a transcript and to be able to search the record. So the speed is pretty important. But yes, to answer that question, an arbitrator could use this type of tool, and we expect they will through one of our partnerships that's launching this month. Use this tool to help prepare reasoned awards, to help review testimony from day one of arbitration, to get ready for day two of arbitration. It can be a great tool to be able to kind of have a natural language conversation with the testimony that took place in the case. And so let me cover this, and then Jake we'll open it back up for questions in a minute. If more questions have come in, I definitely want to take them. But what if on the real-time piece of this, you didn't have to think about prompting? You didn't have to go to a guide or try to figure out, well, what do I really want to ask here? What if we could just make an easy button so that you didn't have to think about it? And so that's what the team at Scribe has built. In the deposition, and this is on the right-hand side, this is what part of the dashboard looks like during the deposition itself. But on this slide, I'm kind of pointing out the three main categories. So as the deposition is taking place, the AI will help you spot inconsistencies in the testimony. It will help you identify items that maybe you should follow up on, where further clarification is warranted, or things that really never got fully answered at all. And so, those of us who've taken or defended a ton of depositions, some people are better at the funneling technique than others. And there are times when we chase rabbit trails on an issue and maybe forget to come back and close a loop on something that came up earlier. This can really help you solve that problem. And so on the screen is an example of insights here, 2 inconsistencies spotted. Keep in mind, the attorney didn't have to type any of this. The attorney didn't have to prompt the AI. All they had to do was hit a button to update the insights. And so this is pointing out, one, there's a discrepancy here on the cause of the cracking in the concrete. Here's what the witness has said so far. And then later they said something a little bit different. Here are some suggested questions that you may want to ask to really clarify this issue. So it's a very powerful tool. I see that someone asked, can you use Scribe if it is not a Zoom deposition? The answer is currently you could use it with Teams, with Google Meet, or with Zoom. We are planning to provide support for this type of tool for in-person depositions someday. So that is absolutely on the roadmap. But this is currently designed for Zoom depositions that are either remote or what we call remote hybrid, where some of the attendees are remote, maybe some of them are sitting in a conference room, which tends to cover a lot of depositions nowadays. There are a lot of remote and remote hybrid depositions. The other question that I see popped up is, which AI model does Scribe incorporate? We've tested several. Currently, we're using a customized version of one of OpenAI's APIs. It is an enterprise grade model. What I mean by that is there's a ton of privacy protections baked into it. There's no training taking place on any of the data. So that's a very good question. Privacy is always top of mind, especially in the legal industry, and the Scribe team's doing a really great job to make sure that we're responsible in the way that that is handled. So as we get into insights and kind of that, what I call the easy button, let me show you kind of what that could look like. And so this is the full panel view, rough transcript on the left-hand side. This is post-event. So again, we're in the middle of a presentation. We're not in the middle of the deposition. So hard for me to demo live exactly what it looks like as the deposition's unfolding. But this one's actually a real deposition. This is a case that was tried last year. And this is post-event. So similar interface, except there's a video in the middle. So I'm going to show you kind of what this looks like. So on the right-hand side, you have an insights pane. And when you click update insights, the software is going to analyze the entire transcript, and it's going to spot those 3 categories. Are there inconsistencies? Are there follow-up items? Or are there unanswered questions? And so on this one, it spotted a follow-up item related to testimony regarding multiple freezers that have been allegedly leaking in this grocery store, and some suggested follow-up questions that should be asked to clear up that issue. So really interesting way to spot things that could otherwise be missed in a deposition. And then let's see here, I want to show, okay. The other thing that I want to mention there was a question about, when can you use Scribe, when can you not use Scribe? The other thing that we are rolling out is the ability to use Scribe even if you want to use your court reporter. So if you have a court reporter that you've used her or him for 20 years and you love your court reporter, we now have a solution for that. So just shoot me an email or shoot Jake an email, and we can sync with you on what that looks like and how that's priced. And so we can provide you with a ton of these functionalities, even if you love your court reporter to death and you still want to use your court reporter to type your final transcript. So just know that is an option. So one of the really great advantages of using a tool like Scribe is, you leave the deposition with more than just notes. And so for so many attorneys that I talk to, we've been taking depositions for years, and you leave the deposition and all you have are your notes, right? Unless you pay double or triple to get, a rough transcript within a day or 2 or 3. This allows you to finish the deposition. And as soon as the deposition's over, you have a copy of that real-time transcript and the ability to summarize it, the ability to search it, all of those things. And so there was a question that just came in. Could you cross notice via Zoom and use Scribe? Absolutely. That's a very common use case. And I would say in most jurisdictions, again, I don't know them all, but in most jurisdictions, you're entitled to cross notice whatever method you want to take a deposition. And so we have some sample cross notices. If you'd like one, we'd be happy to share it with you. But you'd basically be cross noticing to record it via audio visual means using Zoom. And we have several customers that have done that successfully. So good question. So the point here is you walk away with a deposition, you've got the video synced to a transcript, you can search it, you can summarize it, you can clip it, you can use AI to leverage the next step in the case. So what could that look like? All right, we talked about getting ready for a deposition. We talked about outlines, witness prep. We talked about taking better questions in the deposition room. Now let's talk about what you do after the deposition's over. And so for many, depending on which side of the V you're on, and I've been on both sides over the course of my career, we all have things to do after a deposition, whether it's send more discovery, whether it's send a report to our client. There's always something that needs to happen next. And what I've found so far is AI can help you speed up whatever is next for you. And so I'm going to show you how this tool, this is still the Scribe platform, will allow you to chat with the transcript after the deposition is over to very quickly identify key parts of the testimony. This can be very useful, particularly if you're working with teams where an associate or a fellow partner took the deposition. You want to go in and you want to see what happened. You don't want to have to read 300 pages. You just want to be able to ask some questions of the deposition. This will allow you to do that. So let me show you what this looks like. So we're just going to prompt it, what did the expert say about the sufficiency of the warning cone and whether the warning cone was an adequate warning? Simple question for purposes of this illustration. And so it's going to analyze, I didn't take this deposition, one of my associates did. It's going to analyze the entire deposition. And what it's going to do that's different than some tools is it's going to answer the question in plain English, but it's also going to create a video clip of the supporting testimony.
In your expert opinion, was this an adequate warning?
Yes.
Objection form.
So once that clip's been created,
in your expert opinion, was this an adequate warning?
Yes.
So the point there is you can quickly ask a question of a deposition and you get not only an answer that you could copy and paste, you also get a video clip of the supporting testimony that you could also download or share via URL. So think how you would share a YouTube clip with someone. You can do that through Scribe with deposition testimony. So a very powerful way to answer your questions and also share that testimony.
Hey, Carl, you got about 10 minutes left.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for the heads up. All right, well, I'm almost done, and then we'll open it up for some more questions and answers. I do see we got a comment that Scribe could be an excellent tool in voir dire. I agree. I think it would be a really, really good tool for that. I would love to test. If anyone would like to test it for that use case, please shoot me an email. I think you could spin this up on your computer, even though it's Zoom powered, you could spin it up in a way that as long as your computer is placed and maybe use an external mic to get good audio, you could use this during a voir dire. And we'd certainly love to try it for that use case. Whether the court will allow it, that I think it's always a good idea to ask permission before you start using something that could be recording audio. So we talk to judges all the time. Some are more tech savvy than others. Some are not tech savvy, but know they want to embrace technology. We've even talked to one court system about possibly using Scribe for some of their transcriptions of hearings and things like that. So it's a great question, a great potential use case as well. So summaries, deposition summaries. So there's a built-in summary tool in the Scribe application, just a button that you can click that will generate a summary. It is designed to be an executive summary. We know there are summaries on the market. There's tools that are being resold through court reporting agencies that will give you a 50-page deposition summary. In my experience, that's not what I want. That's not what most clients want. They want the
first,
hold on just a moment. They want the high level, right? And so what I really like about Scribe's tool is it's designed to be an executive summary, and you can just ask it for whatever summary you want. So down in the chat section, you could just tell it, hey, I need you to draft a medium length summary in the following style. Please make sure it answers the following questions about this deposition. And so then you get a deposition summary that is tailored to you, tailored to your client, and doesn't contain a whole bunch of extra fluff that you may not want. And so that's and the other thing, and this is what was playing, is you're going to get clips created that will be a part of that summary at the bottom. So if you want to use video clips, you can use video clips as well. So I'll let this finish playing.
The video so I could get a general understanding.
So that was going straight into the methodology for that expert witness. And then you can copy and paste it to your clipboard, drop it into an email, drop it into Microsoft Word, and you're kind of off to the races. And then the other use case that I have used this tool for, as well as many of our clients, is drafting discovery. So I would say this is an underutilized concept. And the reason I say that is we all finish depositions where we know that stuff came up in that deposition that we probably need to send some discovery on. Does it actually make it into the task manager? Does it actually get done? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And this allows you just to do it in seconds. And so I'm going to show you an example prompt. This is dark mode. It's just a browser setting, but it's the same application, Scribe. And we're going to prompt it. And we're going to prompt it to draft some, and this is a prompt I drafted earlier, but prompted to draft some RFPs, some interrogatories, and some requests for admissions based on the testimony in the deposition itself. And so it is analyzing the testimony. I told it what topics I wanted it to focus on. And it has now given me a high quality draft of discovery that I can copy and paste over into Microsoft Word, edit what needs to be edited, add things that if I want to cover some more things or delete things that maybe I think aren't needed. But it's a way to get that discovery done in seconds and tailor it to the testimony itself. And so that's pretty powerful as well. So video clip creation, I'll just briefly mention this. I won't play the clips. Well, I'll play just a snippet of it just to show you kind of what it looks like. But this is, you can have AI create clips for you. And so this is kind of a neat tool where you can just say, hey, I want you to create video clips for me every time this witness discussed issue X or issue Y. And so this is an example of having video clips created. You're going to see them down at the bottom on each of these key issues, every time the witness talked about the way the incident happened. So it's a very interesting way and quick way to create video clips. And sharing the playlist, super, super simple. Once you've created it, you can share it using this little share icon, which looks almost like a hyperlink. And then the recipient will get it. They don't even have to have Scribe. All they would do is click that link. It would open up their browser and play the corresponding clip. So what does that allow you to do? It allows you to put video into your briefs. So this is an example from a motion filed in Dallas County District Court where video was embedded into the motion itself, into the fact background section. And then the judge or the staff attorney was able to watch the corresponding video. You can absolutely, I see we have a question here about exporting video clips. Absolutely. You can download the clips as MP4 files and put them in whatever you want to put them in. You can also put them in demand letters or counteroffers. We've had some clients who will take a deposition, get some really damning testimony. They'll create video clips the same day, send a demand letter, maybe even use Scribe's tool to help draft the demand letter. And it's just a very powerful way to quickly make an impact with your opponent, or more thoroughly inform your client. For those of us who work on the defense side, you can describe a deposition all day long, but there is a difference in seeing the witness and hearing the witness, the tone in their voice, how do they appear, what is a jury or a judge or an arbitrator going to think about this witness. You're not going to get that out of the text on the page. You got to use the video. And so this makes it so simple to use the video for that purpose. So with that said, these tools are ready to use today. We've covered a lot of different tools, from Claude to Lexis to Scribe to several others that we talked about. I'm testing some more, so maybe in my next presentation I'll cover some other new tools. But the point is, you can start using this stuff today. And so if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to dialogue with you on this. Just give me a couple of days to respond. I don't always respond same day, depending on what I've got going on. So with that said, we will open it up to any other questions. I know we've had some questions in the chat. Appreciate those. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or ask them now.
All right, Carl, we got two that are outstanding. First, do you have to reveal the fact that you're using Scribe?
Do you have to reveal the fact that you're using Scribe? So I think the reason I hesitate is it depends on your use case. So if you are using Scribe as your deposition solution, and what I mean by that is Scribe offers what's called Scribe Live, which is a non-stenographic deposition reporting option that you can schedule the deposition non-stenographically, either under the federal rules or the Texas rules or any state that permits non-stenographic depositions, which is a lot of them. And if you have a question about your state, just drop us an email. And then you would absolutely disclose that you're using Scribe to take the deposition. It's going to be recorded non-stenographically. If you are using Scribe in a deposition where you still have your court reporting company and you just want to use Scribe for the real time or for some of the AI features, that's ultimately up to you. I'm not aware of any rules in Texas or under the federal rules that would require disclosure of anything like that. At the end of the day, in that scenario, it's just a tool like any other software tool that you have on your computer, be it Microsoft Word or any other type of tool that you use to help you do your job. So ultimately, I think that one's going to be up to your discretion. If Scribe is not the official record for the deposition, now, if you're cross-noticing and you are going to record it through a cross-notice, I would disclose the method that you're going to use. And if Scribe's going to be the method, I would definitely disclose that.
All right. So a couple more. Can you use Scribe instead of a licensed court reporter?
In most jurisdictions, yes. And so again, it depends on your jurisdictions. The federal rules introduced the concept of non-stenographic depositions in the 1990s. And most states followed suit. And so Texas did as well in the late 90s, introduced an update to Rule 199, as well as 203.6 of the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. We have information on all the various states' rules. If you like the rules in your state, just let us know, shoot us an email. But yeah, it is ultimately a non-stenographic deposition, which means it's being recorded using audio and audio-visual methods. And in most jurisdictions that permit non-stenographic depositions, they also permit non-stenographic transcripts. But be sure to check your rules. We're happy to guide you. That's a great question. I see another question popped up. Is there a process for integrating a traditional court reporter on the Scribe site? We are happy to work with your court reporter. So if you have a court reporter that you, again, want to have type the transcript for whatever reason, you worked with the court reporter for 20 years, they're your cousin, whatever the reason may be, you can get the benefits of this platform and still use your court reporter. So just shoot us an email if you want to look into that option. It's a lower price point than what's on the website. It's a new tool that we're actually rolling out now. So just reach out if that's what you're interested in. And then the transcript, I see a question came through about whether the transcript can be exported into different formats and printed. Absolutely. Today's presentation was a little more focused on various AI tools and how to use them, including some of Scribe's AI tools. I have a different presentation that includes a little bit more about just the nuts and bolts of non-stenographic court reporting or taking depositions non-stenographically. The transcript, I showed today the rough transcript. And so just to be clear, the real-time transcript is rough. The transcript that's available the same day is rough. Scribe does offer, if you want to use Scribe as your non-stenographic deposition solution, a final transcript that is legally formatted, human proofread by professional transcriptionists, and delivered within 5 to 7 business days, no rush fee. That's the standard delivery time. So within a week, you've got your final transcript, and Scribe facilitates the read and sign process so that the opposing counsel and the witness can review the transcript, fill out the errata sheet, and the transcript, to more directly answer the question, the transcript can be downloaded as a PDF. There are a couple of other file format options if you would like that we can do on request. So if you have a specific format need, you could just email support@Scribe, and hopefully they'll be able to help you with that. Jake, any other?
That's all the questions we've got, I believe. And yes, TXT, we can make in TXT. I can go ahead and answer that one for, we can produce those in TXT if you need.
Yeah,
transcripts.
.txt, also sometimes referred to as ASCII, is a very common format, and we absolutely can provide ASCII format as well, text files. So if that wraps up all the questions, then we are right on time. And so it's been a pleasure presenting. Hopefully you had some good takeaways from today's presentation. Again, my email, here, I'll put that back on the screen real quick. If you have a question for me, I'll do my best to answer it. So feel free to shoot me an email. We have a lot of really cool tools that the Scribe team is not only available today, but some of the stuff coming down the pipeline that I think will help all of us become better litigators and get better results for our clients, which is ultimately the goal here. So thank you for listening. Appreciate you joining today. And Jake, thanks for the introduction at the beginning.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.